All right, next section, fractions lesson number 6, our yellow pages. Um, we have been talking a lot about comparing and equivalence. We're going to talk about a special kind of fraction today, but we'll be reviewing what we've already learned as well. We're going to talk about unit fractions today. And unit fractions are ones like 1/2, 1/3, 1/4, 1/6, and 1/8. They are one part of the whole. Unit means one part. So 1/8 is one part of a whole that is partitioned into 8 equal parts. And fractions may be represented using any shape that can be divided into an equal number of parts. We've learned that before. And here we see 1/2, 1/2, 1/3, 1/3, 1/4, 1/4, 1/6, 1/6. Notice that we do not necessarily have equivalent fractions here. We are just showing that we can partition things into equal parts, and it is called 1/4. We're not going to be comparing, so they are not the same size or take up the same amount of space. So two fractions are equivalent if they represent the same point on a number line, or they are an equal-sized whole divided into equal-sized parts. So let's review number lines. When two or more fractions represent the same point on a number line, we say they are equivalent. There's 1/2, and there is 1/4. So 1/2 and 1/4 are unit fractions, but notice that 1/2 and 2/4 are at the same place, equal points on a number line, so they are equivalent. We've learned that before. There's our 8ths. Now we see we have 1/4 and 2/8, 3/4 and 6/8, and 1/2, 2/4 and 4/8. And of course, anything equal to 1 is equivalent. So I can say that 1/4 and 2/4 and 4/8 are equal, 1/4 and 2/8 are equal, 3/4 and 6/8 are equal. Number lines we've learned can be horizontal and vertical. How would the same thing look on a vertical number line? Just like this. There's 1/2. There's the 1/4. There's the 1/8. And again, you see how they line up just really nicely. And again, the same thing. 1/2 equals 2/4 equals 4/8. They go right across in a straight line. 1/4 and 2/8 and 3/4 and 6/8. Sometimes I think vertical number lines are a little bit easier to read. So let's get out our practice packet and let's practice dividing each shape into portions shown, shade, and label the unit fraction in each partition shape. So for the circle, I want you to divide it into 3 parts. We usually do that by making a peace sign. So we come like halfway down and make a diagonal and make a diagonal. They want you to color in 1 and then put 1/3 next to it. And this one we're going to split into 4s. We're going to go like this, color in one of them, label it 1/4. This one says halves, so that means into 2 parts. I'm going to split it right here, color in half of it, and label it 1/2, 1/2. I'm going to draw one line here, one line here, that's 4. One line here makes 6ths, and you're going to color in 1 and label it 1/6. And this is 8. So line here, line here, line here, line here will give you 8 parts. Color in one triangle, color and label it 1/8. Then we're going to do number lines. Find equivalent fractions using thirds and sixths on the 2 number lines. Whoops, go back. There we go. So we would label this one 0 and 0, 1 and 1. And we are going to we're going to split this into 3 parts. So I'm going to go right about here is 1/3, and a little bit bigger, 1/3, 2/3, and 1 would be 3/3. And then I'm going to split this one into 6. 1, 2, 6 should be right under 1/3. 4, 6, it's right in the middle. 5, 6 would be the same as No, 3/6 would be right in the middle. Getting off. 4/6 should be right under 2/3. 5/6 and 1. So you should have 1/3 and 2/6 and 2/3 and 4/6 that line up. Do your best. Those are hard to draw. Let's find equivalent fractions using 4ths and 8ths on two vertical number lines. Um, there we go. There's two. So this is 0, and this is 1. And you're going to do the same thing we did on the other page. You're going to make this your 1/4, 2/4 is right in the middle, and then 3/4. And then you're going to go, we're doing 8ths. So 1/8, 2/8 should line up with 1/4, 3/8, 4/8 should line up with 2/4, 5/8, 6/8 should line up with 3/4, 7/8, and then 1. Do your best to make them equal. They're kind of hard to do. It's a good practice to always start by finding the halfway point first, and I would agree with that. That helps to split it up. And that's where we're going to end with today. Tomorrow we'll do some red pages with some problem solving using fractions.